are listening to the Chris Plante Show podcast.
And there was another great story over the weekend. This is pretty funny from Vice News, lefties. And they've got a woman named Karen Louise Hermes, Hermes, you know, Hermes, like this girl, Hermes. She's, her name is Hermes, allegedly. The headline is, Why I Quit Being a Climate Activist. The subheadline is, The Climate Movement is Overwhelmingly White, so I Walked Away. Thank you. Now, the rest is irrelevant and insane, but Karen Louise Hermes apparently very concerned about the weather, so she joined some left-wing groups who claim that they're going to do something about the weather. And she went to meetings, and she walked in, and she said that she would raise questions about how this affects people of color. And they'd look at her like, we're talking about the weather here. You know, we're not really changing anything. And she became upset. She would raise the question. She said, whenever I would question the whiteness of these spaces, they're always looking for safe spaces and stuff, and how strategies didn't take race into account because nothing's more important than race in the weather, I would be met with uncomfortable silences. The last time, a nationwide movement building workshop in April, I was asked, well, then, why are you even here? Because she's a complete pain in everyone's buttocks, and they told her to leave, so she did. And then she wrote an article that there are too many white people, so she's white. She's white, but she's very concerned because, you know, there it is. All right, and then I wanted to get to this because this is completely berserk, and this actually requires a little bit of music, too. This was in the Washington Post's magazine over the weekend, and my best girl pointed it out, and I started reading and laughing out loud. The headline is, The Environmental Burden of Generation Z. Generation Z, young people under the age of whatever. The subheadline is, Kids are terrified, anxious, and depressed about climate change. Whose fault is that? Well, I think I know. This is typed by a person named Jason Plautz, Plautz, Jason Plautz. He writes of teenagers gathered in Denver for an environmental rally to argue about the weather, to yell about the weather. They're, of course, brought out by their parents, who are lunatics and are using their children as human shields for an insane political cause being foisted upon the world by the left. No more airplanes, no more electricity, no nuclear, no hydroelectric, no coal plants. We'll be wearing moccasins and running around like Elizabeth Warren's ancestors with pointed sticks, trying to kill deer so we can drink the blood to live one more day. It's the future the Democrats envision. The kids ambled off the bus near Denver's Union Station with signs like, "We won't die from old age. We'll die from climate change." High school sophomore Sophie Kaplan is marching in a bright yellow flowered sundress, but the sentiment on her poster is hardly sunny. It said, "Why should I study for a future I won't have?" She thinks about climate change every day, she tells me. She reads about how we're on the brink, and hears her teachers and parents tell her that it's up to her generation to fix things. Now we know who's responsible for the anxiety, the terror. This is a form of terrorism that they're inflicting upon children. I don't understand why I should be in school if the world is burning, she says. That's what Greta Thunberg says, too. A lot of laughs, these people. It's a suicidal death cult. That's why they want the meteor to hit the earth and extinguish all life rather than Trump being reelected. What's the point of working on my education if we don't deal with this first? Chris Bray and his children, 6th grader Ariana and 2nd grader Colin, dressed in plaid shorts and blue sunglasses. Colin hovers shyly behind a homemade sign with a picture of coal and the word why, and a picture of the shining sun with the words why not. It's like Bobby Kennedy on the weather. The boy is, quote, scared about the planet, he tells me. But he feels good to be surrounded by so many other people who care, since he can sometimes feel as if nobody else is worried. He's a 2nd grader. He's terrified that not enough people are worried about the weather. His parents are dragging him out to this Denver thing. Climate change, says Chris and his wife, Amber, is a big topic of discussion in their home. Your children are about to open their veins because of the way you've raised them and in a state of terror over the weather and telling them they're going to have to fix it. Their teachers are you people are all brain damaged, I got to tell you. Colin and Ariana have always shown an interest in the environment. He's in second grade. Always? For the last year and a half? They've cried over nature documentaries about the destruction of the coral reefs. Then don't make them watch those. And sought out coverage of 17-year-old Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg. Chris and Amber are proud that their children are so aware. They're depressed. They're clinically they're little children. You've turned them into basket cases. And the way their kids' interests have informed their own actions. They're learning from their second grader. But at the same time, like many parents, they're concerned that their children could be overwhelmed by predictions about the environment that seem to be growing ever more dire. Young people absorbing the gravity of these warnings have become the defining face of the climate movement. They use children as human shields, marching, protesting, berating their elders for bequeathing them an uncertain, unstable future. Underlying their anger, though, is another word, anxiety. And it's something they're increasingly voicing. They're voicing their anxiety. Teachers hear their students talk about panic attacks when wildfires break out in Australia. And psychologists face young parents weeping about their fear, young patients weeping about their fear of never having a family. This is what they're being taught by the left. Amber Bray recalls Colin solemnly telling her on his 8th birthday, "My life would be better without climate change." Just put like a gas hose in his mouth. This kid's toast. As climate change continues unabated, they write in the Washington Post, teachers and medical professionals across the country find themselves face to face with a quandary. How do you raise a generation to look toward the future with hope when all around them swirls a message of apparent hopelessness? Well, you should stop terrorizing the children with your insane party propaganda that has them ready to put guns in their mouths as second graders. Maybe that'd be a good start. What do you think about that? How do you prepare today's children for a world defined by environmental trauma without inflicting more trauma yourself? And where do you find the line between responsible education and undue alarmism? Somewhere in your rearview mirror, I can tell you that much. They cite a Washington Post Kaiser family poll of American teenagers released in September. 57% of American teenagers said that climate change made them feel scared, and 52% said it made them feel angry. Both higher than the rates among adults. They're being terrorized by the left everywhere they go. Just 29% of teens say they're optimistic. 29% of teens say they're optimistic. Reports like the U.S. government's National Climate Assessment have cited mental health concerns as a side effect of climate change. Actually, it's a side effect of the Democratic Party and the left, not of climate change. The left did this, not the weather. The kids aren't saying, gosh, it's a lot warmer in my second grade year of school than it was in my first grade year of school. They aren't. The American Academy of Pediatrics issued a policy statement in 2015 warning that climate change poses a threat to children's mental and physical health, and that failure to take prompt, substantive action would be an act of injustice to all children. So they're terrorizing the hell out of these people. According to the National Institutes of Health, nearly 1 in 3 people ages 13 to 18 experience an anxiety disorder. And a study published in April of 2018 in the Journal of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics found that anxiety diagnoses in children ages 6 to 17 increased 20% between 2007 and 2012. There's no single cause. It says, no, actually there is a single cause. It's the left terrorizing children with fears that children should not have. But you're terrorists, as you have been for a long time, from the Klan to the SDS to the Weather Underground to today. A nonstop barrage of social media, the heightened political climate. This is all the left, all the left. And the threat of school shootings are all stressors. Well, you shouldn't terrorize them. Statistically, they're more likely to be struck by lightning. But never mind all that. It's like the ice caps are melting, and my hypothetical children will never see them. Your children aren't really concerned. They haven't been born. You're not even an adult. You're not capable of making children. Don't worry about the ice caps. But this is what the left has done to them. It's absolutely insane. There's a teacher, Park Guthrie, in California, Sonoma County, has seen the toll that the state's raging wildfires can take on the generally enthusiastic 11 and 12-year-olds in his classes. He's witnessed panic attacks triggered by the mere smell of smoke. When smoke from a nearby controlled burn once drifted to the school, he recalls a boy smiled blankly and announced, "I think I'm having PTSD." It's not the fires, it's the left. This is what the left has done to the children. They're terrorists. They're terrorizing the children. It's a horror show. It's the weather. And then sometimes they grow up. And here's it's the weather. Now leave the kids alone. It's, let them go out and play. All right, stop terrorizing. Stop using as human shields at events where people scream insane things about how we're all going to die. I know you're an apocalyptic death cult, but try to grow up. Your bootstraps. Here's a man accused. I don't think CNN has covered this. Victoria, can you tell me if CNN has talked about the man driving his truck through a Republican voter registration tent trying to kill everybody in Jacksonville, Florida? Hours after a van plowed through a Republican Party tent where volunteers